I mean, you can't expect actors to live their lives in, like, a bubble where, like, you know, they protect themselves fully, you know, every moment they're off camera.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you want to, you can say that again so there's no sound effect in the background.
Yeah, I have
but it might be a good Easter egg because we were talking about Sonic the Hedgehog before, so I'll leave that up to you. If you want to say that again, go ahead.
I don't remember what I said exactly.
Oh well, we'll leave it in.
Yeah, I guess we have to.
I'm Tom Dickinson.
And I'm Louis Midas.
And this is The Cloister Room,
a podcast about Doctor Who and other things.
What did you think about the Pirate Planet?
I loved it.
You loved it. Well,
I did love it.
I like it a lot. This is kind of, I wouldn't say it's like a controversial story.
Oh, really?
It's just opinions among people whose opinions I've read seem to be kind of all over the place with this.
Really?
Yeah, because, well, one of the things is that, as I think we mentioned before, it has a script by Douglas Adams.
Yes.
But of the 3 scripts to which he contributed, and actually it's probably true that he contributed to more because he was script editor for a while, but the 3 scripts which are considered, you know, Douglas Adams scripts, people like this one the least.
Really?
And I think it might be the weakest of the 3 because I think City of Death is better and I think Shot is probably better. But
yeah, you know, I don't really, I mean, obviously I've not seen Shada, so I can't comment on that, but I have seen City of Death, and I don't really remember it, so I'm not sure if I can comment on the quality of this episode in comparison to City of Death. But I don't know.
But yeah, even though I think I probably like it less than City of Death. Well, I certainly like it less than City of Death, and I probably like it less than Shada. I do still really enjoy it.
Yeah, no. Especially after watching the War Machines, this was just like a huge. I don't know. This was like leaps and bounds better than that, and maybe that's part of the reason why I liked it so much because it wasn't the War Machines. But I don't know. There was just so much about this episode that I just thought was just fascinating, and I loved it. I don't know.
Now, did you know anything going into it about the key to time premise, or?
I knew there were keys, and they were to time. No, I pretty much knew nothing.
And it's really in this story, it really just functions as a MacGuffin.
Right.
At the beginning, they do remind you we're looking for the next segment of the key to time.
Right.
And at the end, they're like, well, we found the next segment of the key to time.
Right.
It really is just a MacGuffin that only really has plot consequences of any kind in the first story of the season and the last story of the season. So the story on its own, I imagine you found it quite comprehensible.
Yeah, it was perfectly comprehensible. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, I guess they kind of set it up kind of okay where they were explaining, like, oh yeah, we're collecting these keys to time, and this is the next one. And that's kind of all I guess I needed to know, and I guess because of the fact, yeah, that it was really just a MacGuffin, that was all the explanation I needed for that. And I appreciated that. I thought that was good. But yeah.
And I'm not going to tell you any further because if it'll come up randomly.
Yeah, there you go. Eventually, I'll be able to piece together this key to time, what have you, and it'll all make sense to me.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's kind of interesting how we talked about all of season 18,
yeah, and
this is season 16,
yeah.
And one of the things we were discussing a bit in season 18 is how when the new producer and the new script editor, John Nathan Turner and Christopher Hamilton Bidmead, respectively, came on board on the show. In season 18, they wanted to do things that were less silly.
Mm-hmm.
I think this episode features examples of the kinds of silliness they were reacting against.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I like it. I like the silliness.
Yeah.
Personally. I thought, like, for instance, the incredibly over the top captain.
I loved him.
And things like that. That's really the main silly aspect. But,
no, I thought he was great.
Oh, I thought he was really good.
Like I loved his like exclamations, like moons of madness.
Yes.
And like some of the longer, more complicated ones. I wrote down one. I think I transcribed it correctly. It was like, by the raging fury of the sky demon. I just love that.
He loves that sky demon.
Ah, yeah. I was kind of curious about like what this mythology was that they had that sky demon. Because I mean, clearly they are a spacefaring race, basically.
Yeah.
And so like, what kind of a god do they have that is, I guess, follows them around? Maybe it's implied it's in the sky. It doesn't say outer space.
True.
Or
True.
something. So whatever this sky demon is must be associated with the actual sky that follows them around.
Yeah.
Because I mean, what kind of a god would it be anyway if your god didn't follow you around?
Well, it's a demon, not a god.
Oh, that's true.
It may
that's
well
true.
not be a god. It may just be a demon. It could just be a demon. Yeah, I thought the most of the like good guy characters are kind of lame and not interesting.
Yeah.
But I think that this episode just benefits immensely from great villains. Like,
yeah.
I love the captain. I love Mr. Fibuli.
Oh yeah. Oh god.
And I thought Xanxia also was really good too.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I feel like it's one of those stories that definitely relies on the villains and works out really well because of it.
Yeah, and I think that's really cool. I think it's really cool. Like, I mean, the villains are just so entertaining and so good that I don't even really mind the fact that the protagonists are not all that interesting. Well, yeah, it's funny because the captain, something about the captain kind of really reminded me of Dr. Robotnik.
Well, yeah, because I mean, this is obviously prior to that, and it's kind of difficult to imagine how this could have been a conscious influence.
Right.
It presumably wasn't.
Right.
But yeah, he was like a big cyborg guy. And I think some versions of Dr. Robotnik have a robot parrot.
Yeah.
Or like a robot bird.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is I think it was one of the cartoons that features Jaleel White as the,
I believe
as
it was the Saturday morning cartoon as opposed to the syndicated cartoon.
Right. Yes, I think so.
I'm very big into distinctions between Sonic the Hedgehog cartoons. This was actually an area. This is my primary fandom for years.
Oh, right.
Not the
that.
Sonic the Hedgehog games, mind you, but the related spin-off materials other than the Sonic the Hedgehog games. So like the cartoons, the comics, the spaghetti and meatballs made by Chef Boyardee, all that stuff.
Oh, are the spaghetti and meatballs canon?
I would consider them canon. They're kind of like an alternate universe.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that fits into the continuity. But yeah, no, and the Mr. Fibuli was kind of like the
Snively.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I feel like this story. Probably one of the reasons I latch onto it so hard is because I have that template already built in, like from my childhood. I didn't grow up with Doctor Who, so I don't connect to it in the way that some people do.
Right.
But I feel like for this story, since I grew up with Sonic the Hedgehog and Douglas Adams, like there's a pathway into that kind of nostalgia for me.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, I believe it. I mean, I remember watching that cartoon, and I don't know if I would consider myself a fan because I feel like I probably watched the episodes out of order, and I was never really that close of a viewer of it, which is really kind of sums up my TV viewership as a whole until I reached probably college. But no, I do remember that, and that is like a throwback for me. So yeah, no, I'm totally right there with you. And yeah, that could also be why I like this episode so much. For all I know, I just love that. I love that dynamic.
I read somewhere that Douglas Adams wasn't too happy with the way it turned out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think what I read is that his preference was that he would, write the dialogue to be all over the top and crazy, and then he would have preferred an actor to play it straight out of the theory that would be funnier. Maybe that's true. Maybe it would have been funnier, but I think it's plenty good as it is.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Yeah, I'm trying to envision what that would be like. Because, I mean, like, I guess you can do that. Yeah, I don't even know. I mean, like, it would be kind of, like, weirder, I guess, which, I mean, could be funny.
Yeah.
But I don't think it would be, like, laugh out loud funny like this kind of is. I could see it. I could certainly see it. But, I don't know. I like how it's done here.
I do, too.
I did love all the dialogue in this.
Yeah, the dialogue is well written. The The concept is pretty great.
Oh,
the concept of a planet that eats other planets, basically.
Yeah, that was really cool. And then when we sort of got an explanation for why they were doing it, that they were collecting all this energy so that what's her name, the queen, could obtain, immortality or basically a new body. I don't know I guess it was kind of immortal.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so that she needed all this fuel for that. I thought that was like really cool, and like it was another cool concept stacked upon an already cool concept. I actually found that impressive. Like, I was actually like, wow, this is impressive. I mean, once again, coming off of the War Machines, where I was excited for, initially I was excited for that episode, and then it kind of just sort of fizzled out. But here, it kind of finished really strong, and I was satisfied with everything that they gave me. And I don't know, I just loved it.
It really does just keep building and building, and it doesn't sort of lose steam in the way some stories do. I don't know. That's at least what I find, especially when I'm watching, 4 parts sitting down in a marathon.
Yeah.
But that is what I did in this case, and it just holds your interest the entire way through, I find.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah, it does just build concept on top of concepts, and also like the psychic energy concept.
Yeah.
That's built into there makes some amount of sense too, and is also kind of cool.
Yeah.
I even like some of the cheesy things, like the flying in the flying car and stuff like that, and all that stuff. It's good.
Yeah. I loved that I think they were like air cars or whatever, or just like a boat with like something like slapped on the side. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I like that. But nothing wrong with that.
What did you think of Romana the First?
At first, I thought she was a little bit annoying, like how she was talking about the TARDIS. I don't know why I found that annoying. But I don't know. She seemed all right by the end of it. I was all right with her by the end of it.
Yeah, this is only her second story.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I figured she must have been pretty new.
She comes on board. Basically, she's assigned to help the Doctor with the key to time thingy.
Ah.
So he's kind of stuck with her, even though he doesn't necessarily want her around.
Right.
And she's kind of stuck with him, even though she doesn't necessarily want to be around.
Ah.
So there is that kind of like
the odd couple.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, they just need that classic TV trope of making like a chalk line down the middle of the TARDIS.
Yeah, what I really do like with her is like when she's smarter than the Doctor and is like saying things that are just as witty as him and sometimes even cleverer than him.
Yeah,
I always enjoy that, and I think that's really good. But actually, with Romana 1, I find that when she's doing more traditional companion stuff, like saying "What's that, Doctor?" or things like that, or just asking the Doctor questions about things, like the kind of thing that any companion would do.
Right.
You can almost tell that Mary Tam, the actress, is just bored with it and is kind of phoning those lines in, or at least it feels that way to me.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, and I feel like I might have mentioned this before, but I think that when you've got another Time Lord in the TARDIS, I feel like it's better if they are, for lack of a better term, talking smart to each other, and sort of dispensing with the dumb questions like "What's that, Doctor? What's going on?" and things like that. And I feel like they can sort of cut right through to weirder things and maybe technobabble that doesn't really make sense to the audience, but that's okay. I don't know. That's just my opinion. It just doesn't, it doesn't make sense to me. I mean, like, obviously, even Time Lords don't know everything, so still they can be confused over things, but I feel like, I don't know, especially when Romana is kind of supposed to be like a genius, kind of like the Doctor, that you expect her to have a sense of what's going on.
At least as much as the Doctor does.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you expect her to be in the loop with regard to, things, concepts that if the Doctor's familiar with, you expect her to be familiar with those too.
Although she's younger than him.
Well, that's true. I keep bringing this up because there are concepts that crop up in the new series that I'm not aware have been already established in the classic series. But the idea, and I feel like we've encountered this in recent episodes we've watched, and I keep failing to mention it, which is fine, but I'm bringing it up now, which is the concept that the TARDIS is a very old model.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And I never really realized how far back that actually stretched. Because I guess, like, certainly I can think of, like, The Doctor's Wife, where it's pretty much... Well, that's when... I think that's when she says, "I was already a museum piece when you found me," or whatever it was that she said. And so, I knew that was... Yeah. So I knew that was, like, a thing. I knew that was a thing in the new series, but
Yeah, it's it goes pretty much all the way back. I mean, it's definitely present in the very earliest William Hartnell stories that the TARDIS at the very least doesn't work all that well.
Right.
It's constantly breaking down for various reasons, and I don't know. It almost seems like a submarine or something like that in that respect, like a 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea or something, where it's like kind of cobbled together and it's very mechanical, and like this and that component have to fit together exactly right, and like if this component fries, the whole thing goes down, that kind of thing. But at the end of the second season, in the Time Meddler, which is the first time that the Doctor encounters in the series another Time Lord, with the exception of Susan, obviously, he meets the monk, and the monk has a newer TARDIS than him. And so I think that's kind of the genesis of the notion that the Doctor's TARDIS is not the top of the line in terms of all TARDISes.
Huh. Interesting.
So that goes all the way back to season 2.
Wow. Yeah. I don't know. It's funny because I feel like it's almost difficult to know what came of. I mean, like if all you've watched is the new series, it's very difficult to know how much of the stuff that they're saying is stuff that was already established in the classic series and what is new stuff. I guess because I mean, well, how would they say that? But I mean, and then you get things like the sort of headcanon of the current writers who wrote it into the actual show. Like I think I seem to recall that Russell T Davies thought that or had it in his head that there was like the translation circuit or whatever. That was not established until the new series, right?
It's definitely there's definitely a Fourth Doctor and Sarah Jane story. I think it might be Mask of Mandragora. I don't think they really spell it out. Sarah is replaced with an imposter, and at one point she asks the Doctor, "How can I understand Italian?" And the Doctor knows she's an imposter because she asked that question. Whereas that question's never been addressed, so that is kind of a completely reasonable question. I might be getting the exact details on that wrong though, but I don't think it's spelled out I don't think that in the TV show it was spelled out in anything near as explicit terms until RTD did it in End of the World.
Okay.
It might have been in like the books or something.
I got ya. Yeah.
But another example of that, the headcanon thing, is Moffat's headcanon that he posted in the Doctor Who news group, rec.arts.doctorwho, back in the 90s, that he thinks that we get the word doctor from the Doctor rather than the other way around, which he eventually wrote into canon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Huh. Yeah, that's a neat thing. But yeah, I mean, just when you've got a show that's been running this long, it's unless you've seen it all or researched it thoroughly, yeah, like you don't really know how old these concepts actually are, and I just think, I don't know, there's something cool about that. And that like the mythology of the show has just been growing and changing and expanding for almost 50 years.
Almost.
Yeah.
Well, actually a little longer than that, because the show was like in development.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, there you go.
A story that you can learn about if you watch the upcoming thing, An Adventure in Time and Space, with what's his name as the Doctor,
David Bradley?
That sounds right.
David Morrissey?
No, not him.
David Tennant? It's got to be one of these Davids.
Yeah, it's David Bradley.
Oh, there we go.
There was a publicity photo of that released today.
Really?
Of David Bradley as the first Doctor.
Ah.
It looks pretty cool.
That sounds cool. I do really want to watch that, but I don't know how. How do I obtain such a...
It doesn't exist yet.
Well, I know, but like how will I obtain it when it does exist?
I wonder whether BBC America might show it. It hasn't been scheduled yet. So I hope BBC America shows it, because I think it's something of general interest, I think. So
yeah,
you don't have to be like a super Doctor Who nerd to care about that. That's something that can go on BBC America.
Yeah, sure it can. Yeah,
if it can go on the BBC, it can go on BBC America.
It's good enough for BBC. It's good enough for BBC America.
Did you notice Tom Baker's injury?
I did notice that. Was that not... It seemed weird to me. Like, I thought... Because, I don't know. Maybe I'm just like... Chekhov's gun is just burned into my head. But I was like, this injury is going to play into some later thingy. But no, did he actually just hurt himself?
He got... It's the thing on his lip.
Yeah.
He got bit by a dog.
What?
And so they kind of wrote it into the story a little bit, I guess.
Yeah.
But, he
got bit by a dog.
Yeah, he got bit by a dog. I forget whose dog it was. It was someone involved in the production team, I think.
Huh.
I don't remember whose, but it was someone's dog, And it bit him.
That's really unfortunate. Yeah, they did write that into the script, and I was okay because I was wondering about that because like they made like a big point like, oh, he like hit his face on the console or whatever, and I don't know, this is weird. I don't know.
Well, the cut doesn't look the same throughout the story because obviously things are filmed out of order.
Oh, huh. I actually wasn't paying that close attention to it, but I'll take your word for it. I would have figured they would just, I mean, like with a thing like that, I would have thought like, oh, they just covered up with makeup, but I guess maybe they can't do that.
Yeah, something like that.
That's really bizarre. But you know, by that same token, I think it adds a bit of realism to the show, because I mean, yeah, just TV in general. There's no reason for, you know, actors and actresses to just always not be, you know, suffering from paper cuts and things like that. Like I get paper cuts all the time. Actually, I don't, but you know, conceivably I could get paper cuts all the time, and if I did, you know, you'd think that should be you should see that if I want to see these characters get paper cuts. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's kind of it's interesting because that kind of stuff doesn't ever get portrayed in television shows unless it bodes somehow.
Right.
Whenever you see some kind of health related thing that just isn't addressed, is just, you know, people living their lives. It just seems kind of disorienting.
It's true, it does. Yeah, because I think it's a quality of just usual general storytelling. You know, you don't include something unless it's going to play some sort of relevant role, you know, later on in the episode or in the story arc. And so it's almost, I don't know, yeah, so it is really disorienting to have these things that actually don't go anywhere and never were meant to go anywhere. Because that's not how stories generally work. And I mean, you know, maybe they should work that way. Maybe they should be chock full of red herring, basically red herrings. But you know, they're not generally.
They're generally not. Usually not on purpose, anyway. Yeah, I found it very distracting, personally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think I found it very distracting the first time I watched the story, which was actually one of the first stories I watched as a Doctor Who fan.
Ah.
So I was on the one hand not all that used to Doctor Who, especially the classic series, and on the other hand also having to kind of figure out, like, is he supposed to like be injured or something? Is it? Yeah.
Huh. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So he was bit by a dog on his face.
Yeah, I just looked it up. He was bit by the dog of Paul Seed, who was an actor in the story immediately previous to this.
Ah. Huh. So is Paul Seed never welcome back?
I don't know. I don't know if he was ever in Doctor Who again.
Well, there you
Maybe.
go. That's it's Revenge of Tom Baker, probably. I don't know.
I think I may have mentioned on an earlier podcast, months ago even, that I wasn't a fan of the Key to Time season.
Right.
But I have since rewatched the whole season, and I've completely changed my mind about it.
Oh, wow, really?
But I would have to say that this story, while I like it a lot, is not my favorite story in the season.
Oh?
Nor is it my second favorite story in the season, and I'm not sure it's even my third favorite story in the season.
Wow.
Because there are some pretty good stories in this season, in my opinion.
Wow. So and was it, and so you've really completely reversed on your opinion. If
Yeah, I have. I don't know what I was thinking before.
Well then,
I just I kind of wasn't looking forward to season 16 because I kind of just didn't have a high opinion of it, and you know, I got to the end of the reign of the previous producer Philip Hinchcliffe, and I had really enjoyed that, and I was like, all that's left is the Graham Williams era. Ugh. And I mean, I guess I hadn't seen much else from the Graham Williams era, but I had seen this whole season, and so I had this completely, you know, incorrect idea in my mind. But I really enjoyed the whole season.
Well, there you go. I guess it's, you know, it's good that you're. I think it's better for your opinion to go up than to go down. I mean, you know, if you're if you're not looking forward to something and it turns out to actually be pretty good, you come out ahead, I think.
It generates additional happiness.
It does. As opposed to something that you thought you liked being suddenly changed and twisted into something you hate.
Which, I guess that happens sometimes.
Yeah. It's like Nissa's father turning into the master.
Exactly.
It's exactly like that.
Oh, speaking of which, the captain,
Yeah.
the pirate captain, appeared in Legopolis.
Did he really?
Yeah, in the scene where the Doctor is clinging on to keep himself from falling right before he falls, different enemies of the Fourth Doctor appear and, like, say, Doctor to him. And, you got Davros, you got a Dalek, you got the Master, obviously. But, apparently someone decided that the pirate captain from the pirate planet was worthy of inclusion there. Which, sure, why not?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's noteworthy and memorable. So,
even though he wasn't even really the main villain of the story.
No, not really. But he is very memorable. Maybe in the Doctor's mind. Maybe that's just how he remembers it. Because, he's been on so many adventures, sometimes it's hard to keep track. So he just remembers the pirate captain as being the big bad guy.
Yes.
And doesn't really remember the queen.
He just remembers there was this one guy who kept yelling, Mr. Fabulous!
Exactly. That's what I remember.
In fact, he probably misremembers the guy's name as Mr. Fibula.
That's right. Yeah, he's just formed all these false memories. Ultimately, I think this was a really good episode. I enjoyed it immensely.
Yeah, even though I watched it fairly recently, I enjoyed watching it again.
Well, there you go. That's probably the sign of a good episode.
Yep.
Because if it's not the sign of a good episode, I don't know what would be.
I don't know either.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I would say again that I thought the good guy, like the hapless inhabitants of the planet, I just thought they were really lame.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair.
Like especially like at the beginning when they're arguing about like whether it's okay to ask questions or not. It's like, no, we must not question. But why? Why mustn't we question? And I was like, yeah, I get it. Yes. It's very amusing. Okay.
Yeah.
But I think that's fine because the villains make up for it so much.
Yeah, they really do. It's just so great. Oh, man. I love it.
Okay, shall I open up the random story generator again?
Yeah, I think you better.
Okay, this one I'm about to do is a trial just to make sure the random sort is working.
Okay.
In fact, I'll do 2 trials just to make sure the random sort is working.
Okay, well that seems fair. I think they do that with like Powerball. They do like a test Powerball to make sure it's.
Do they?
Maybe, I don't know. I know that there's like some sort of. I think they like have to be like audited by some impartial, like auditing firm to make sure. Powerball is like serious business, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That second trial one would actually have been a really interesting story to watch.
Oh, really?
But we're not gonna.
Oh, man.
It would have been Mission to the Unknown, which is only 1 episode long.
Really?
And it's missing.
Well, that would have been interesting then.
All right. So I am now selecting a random story out of the pool of remaining stories to watch, and the random selector chooses Time and the Ronnie.
Ooh, I think I might have seen that one.
That's the 6th Doctor one with the Ronnie, right? No, sorry. I don't know which one is which.
I don't know. Well, because I think I remember seeing one. I think I've seen. I guess the one I've seen is the one with the 6th Doctor.
I actually haven't ever seen either of them.
Really?
Yep. They are both blind spots in my watching of Doctor Who, and they're both ahead of my current point in the marathon. So I only know them by reputation, and I know one of them people really like, and one of them people really don't like. Mark of the Ronnie and Time of the Ronnie. I know one of them is beloved and one of them is not. I just don't know which one's which.
Oh, Time and the Ronnie is I just looked it up on Wikipedia, and it's Time and the Ronnie is the 7th Doctor.
Oh, okay. Well, I think that's the one people don't like, actually.
Oh, well, there you go. That's actually the one I have not seen. I saw the 6th Doctor one.
Mark of the Ronnie. So I haven't even seen Mark of the Ronnie. Well, okay. So we will be discussing next Time and the Ronnie.
I'm actually excited.
I'm excited too because it's a story I haven't seen before.
Yeah. I'm excited because, well, first of all, yeah, it's also a story I have not seen, but it also, it's just been a really long time for the 7th Doctor. I don't think I've watched any 7th Doctor stories since Happiness Patrol.
Yeah, I've actually seen startlingly few 7th Doctor stories, and I have this inkling in my mind that I'm really gonna like the 7th Doctor era.
Yeah.
Because whenever I hear people gush about various different Doctor Who eras that they love, people gushing about the Seventh Doctor and Ace always appeals to me most. I think this is a Mel story rather than an Ace story. But even so, whenever people gush about the Seventh Doctor and Ace, I'm like, when I get to that and really properly watch all those stories, of which I've only seen a few, I'm in order. I'm sure I'm going to like, and maybe I'll be horribly disappointed, but
could be. Yeah.
Okay, so next week, Time in the Ronnie.
Yeah.
Mr. Fabulous!